Okay, here's the hardware that I've put together to pitch the tent in the Save the Space hack. Pretty self-explanatory. Basically, all these things are meant to tension parts of the tent or clip the tent together. I'll go over it real quick. So the tent on both of the vertices, the highest points where the trekking pole goes, Dan Durston included a guy-out attachment or a line attachment that you can tension for inclement weather or gusty winds, etc. You're going to be using that primarily in another part of this video, but you're going to need two of those, depending if you're going to tension both sides of the tent or one. And basically, all I've done is collected some micro carabiners. That's what these little things are. I call them clips or hooks, but they're just little tiny micro carabiners. And all I've done is attach a guy outline tensioner. That's what that is. There's also this tiny little hook here. And then the reason, when you're experimenting and trying different things, you're all about options, like a Swiss Army knife. And so this whole bit of line here is meant to come off the peak of the tent. And I use this one in line with the trekking pole. The second line that comes off that peak, I use in line with the vestibule down to the stake. So everything's duplicated. If you're going to do both sides, you need two of everything. If you're just going to, space hack one side, all you need is one of these. So all I did was get some tensioners. You can buy these off of Amazon or the whole host of websites that sell these little guy out or guy line tensioners, as well as these little carabiners. Okay, so you need two of that. You need two of this to tension the peak. For the bathtub stakeout, you're going to need a little tensioner, or again, I'm using a little tiny mini carabiner. These are these really cheap ones, but they work. And a little bit of guy line that I tied into a knot. You can stake it out directly in this fashion, or because I wasn't sure what I needed, I went ahead and attached a guy line tensioner and then a little bit of guy line with a loop. Okay, and so you would clip the bathtub and that one section together, and you both pull them out in that direction. So you need two of these, and that's what those are. And then to tension the sides of the tent, where most amount of the sloppiness is, I made another little tensioner with, again, a mini carabiner, a guy line tensioner, and a little bit of cord and a little bit of this plastic clip. Okay, you could use another mini carabiner in place of this little plastic clip if you want. So it's basically, most of this is what I had hanging around from years of camping. And then what I did is made these little magnetic holders, and I've taken some Velcro fuzzy, the fuzzy part of the Velcro, part that's fuzzy, not the rough hook part, but the because I didn't want to use these on the tent and have it rub and cause any damage to the tent. And what I did is, all I did was fold it over and glue it. And there's a little permanent rare earth magnet in here, and they stick together. And I thought, okay, I'll put one on one side and one on the other, and effectively magnetically sandwich the slop that I'm creating with this pitching hack for this X-Mid. And so I went and experimented around, and I came up with two of them, one for each side. And that's basically it. That's the hack. And all you're trying to do is pitch the tent without the vestibules, or at least pitch the tent where it's tensioned enough where you don't need the vestibules. So that's pretty much where we're at. Hi everyone, excuse the background noises. I'm actually doing this pitch in my front yard, so there'll be airplane noises and car noises. Excuse that. Sorry. Okay, when you're doing the tight space hack, as I call it, you're basically only going to pitch the bathtub of the X-Mid. Okay, don't worry about the vestibules if you don't need them. Okay, I'm going to show both sides being both vestibules being done away with, so that you just see the size of the tent in layout according to the size of the bathtub of the tent. Okay, so you've laid your tent down and you want to start pitching it. Just worry, for the most part, about this end, which is closest to the bathtub. I'm lifting it up so you can see it. And about halfway through to the side of the tent, Dan included this guy out point. This is really the only 2 points that you really need to work with when you're doing this hack, at least initially, okay? And then of course underneath there is the bathtub pullout, the long side that goes to the vestibule, okay? So again, just ignore the vestibule for the time being. All you're interested in this hack is this point, the bathtub guy out, pull out, and that other side, okay? So basically these 2 points equal the bathtub. And what you're going to do is you're just going to work with this point and that point for the time being. Okay, what I've done is I've staked out one corner of the tent that's closest to the bathtub. Stake that out normally. And then come down to this guy out point, which is not the vestibule. It's the beginning of the vestibule, but it's not the vestibule. And underneath, you're going to see the bathtub pull out point. You're going to take these two and you're going to use a little piece of hardware that you're going to make. It's a tiny little hook, and you're going to hook these two pieces together and pull them out. Okay, effectively doing away with the very edge of the vestibule stakeout point. So all you do is you take your hook. Sorry guys, I'm holding it with one hand. Go through one, and then you're going to go through the other, just like this. Okay, here's the tent staked out without the vestibules. So the side closest to the bathtub, here's the bathtub right there, you stake out normally, and about halfway through you take the bathtub as well as this guy out point and use a carabiner, micro carabiner, to attach them. Then you pull a stake out and you pull it tight in relationship to that end. Okay, so effectively all you've done is staked out the bathtub. And as you can see, this is what you would normally stake out. That's the vestibule, okay? But we're not going to do that because this is the safe space hack for the X-Mid. Okay, again, just get a little micro carabiner, and this a tensioner. That's just for experimental purposes, but you can use a carabiner, a little bit of guy line, and I have a groundhog here, a mini groundhog, to stake it out. You do the exact same thing on the other side of the tent, okay? So in effect, all you've done is staked out the bathtub. Okay, and if I walk over here, same thing. Here's the side of the tent that's closest to the bathtub, which is right here. Stake that out normally. You're going to need to tension it in relationship to that corner over there. I mean, you have to pull the tent out. And then this is the side of the vestibule on the other side of the tent. Use a carabiner, a little micro carabiner, and pull this side out. And that way what you have is just the tensioned bathtub. And you can see the tent is at its smallest footprint right now. Okay, from here we're going to go ahead and insert the trekking poles and tension the tent, and then we'll go from there. Okay, what I've done is inserted a trekking pole into the one side of the tent. Now, the X-Mid comes with this guy out at the apex of the trekking pole. So I put a tensioner, a gross grain loop tensioner, onto this guy out point, attachment point at the top. There's my tension, there's my guy out line. And this guy out line goes down and attaches to where the corner of the bathtub pull-out is. So I have this line coming off. Now this is not sufficient enough to stake the tent out in the safe space hack configuration. So what I've done is I've created another guy out line with tensioner that I'm going to attach to this and pull it out at an angle. And I'll show you that next. Here's a good view of basically one side of the tent being pitched. As you can see, I have the vestibule flopped over the side of the tent, and it effectively gets rid of it. All right, so I'm just coiled around the apex to get rid of the extra line, because again, this is do-it-yourself. So one line coming off the highest point goes down and attaches to the bathtub pullout. Okay. Again, if you can see what I've done here, I've attached the bathtub and the guy outline at the bottom of the tent with a micro carabiner and pulled it out with a stake. And then from this, I've come up and I've attached a guy outline to the top of the tent. And then I've attached another guy outline in line, or basically in line with the trekking pole, and put a stake next to that. And you can see from this angle, look at how much space I've saved. And that side of the tent is actually effectively pitched. And I'll do the exact same thing on the other side, just mirroring it. Exact same equipment, exact same setup, everything. Okay, I've pitched both sides of the tent. Vestibulus, what a name, vestibulus. Anyways, so now you want to deal with all of the slop that you've made pitching this tent in the safe space hack. So if you follow it down, you'll have this guy out attachment and the end of the vestibule, or actually the corner of the vestibule. Okay, so what you're going to do is you're going to take this and bring these two together and tension them with the tensioner, something like that. So just connect them and tension them, and that'll cause the base of the tent to close effectively for inclement weather. And I'll show you that next. All right, here's the carabiner attachment, and here's the corner of your vestibule, and I have a little tensioner. And the reason why you want to bring these tension is to keep your bottom of your tent from letting rain and inclement weather in. So the tent was never meant to be pitched like this, but it does work. The hack does work. So now, but you have this extra slop to deal with. So I've made some magnets, little tabs here from the fuzzy side of a Velcro strip. And there's just some rare earth magnets. I folded it over and glued it. And I'm going to use this just to kind of attach the slop together. So you can see up here on the tent where the actual magnet is that Dan Durston put in to roll up the vestibule door and attach it with the other side. So we need to deal with all this now and stop it from flapping in the wind. Okay, here's the tent effectively being used. There's the bathtub inside. This is without both vestibules. Again, the tent was never meant to be pitched like this, so it does have some slack in it. There's just the forces and the angles of tautness on the tent, as well as the trekking poles, are not mimicked exactly with this hack. So, but it is doable. Now, I would pitch the tent normally when and if I could for best results, but in a pinch, this hack will allow you to pitch the tent in a much smaller area, as you can see. So, I mean, look at the profile of it like this. It is much smaller than with the vestibules. But again, you're going to need to use the guy out point supplied at the top of the tents. You're going to need to have one come out and angle with the trekking pole, and you're going to need to have one come down the side of the tent to tension it. And you can see the ridge. It's very taut. The ridge is excellent. Okay. If you fold the slop up when you close the vestibules, you know, no water can get in either or still. And if you use some soft magnets or some type of soft clip to bring together the slop and the vestibules, you'll have a nice flapless tent. Again, it is a little loose because this is a hack, but in a pinch, this hack works great.